so I'm with us. We have Sherry Briscoe. We have Evan Gal, who's the I'll let him introduce himself in a few minutes. I'm Troy Lambert. I'm on the Idaho Writers Guild board. I'm an author, mystery author, editor, and freelance writer. And I'm the education lead for various software. I'm also, just this January, I got MailerLite certified. So that's kind of what I bring to this thing, besides the fact that I've built a massive mailing list and a couple massive mailing lists for other people. But Evan's got some really good stuff to share. And what I'm going to do is, Evan's the founder of Story Origin. Story Origin is just one of my favorite tools to use for not only for list building, but I'm using it right now for, it's got a beta reader feature that is amazing. It's perfect. It lets you do some really cool things with beta readers that other tools don't necessarily let you do. And maybe I'll talk about those at the end after we talk about email marketing if I have time, or maybe we'll have another session sometime and I'll talk to you guys about how to use that tool, because that, between that and housing my audio and ebook.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness. And my audio, sorry, my watch is going off. My audio and ebook review copies, Story Origin is extremely valuable. That and reader magnets, which is partly what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to turn it over to Evan and mute myself. I'm going to let him introduce himself and then go ahead and dive right into our presentation.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm really excited. I love doing these things. So I love getting the chance to talk with a bunch of authors. I am, as Troy said, the founder of Story Origin, an indie developer behind it. So anything that you either love or hate about Story Origin all comes back to me. My inbox is always open, so I'll say that right off the bat. You can always find my contact information directly on the contact page of Story Origin, or you can find it even on the homepage. So yeah, always welcome to shoot me an email. Today, I really want to talk to you guys about how to build a mailing list. And as Troy said, you can do lots more things with Story Origin. It is sort of a one-stop shop for author marketing tools. The way that I got started building Story Origin was I actually used to write short stories back in high school, and then got interested in tech and entrepreneurship in college, worked for a few years, decided it was finally time for me to take the leap and start doing my own thing. So I wanted to get back into writing and then also build tools for writers at the same time. Building Story Origin quickly took over 100% of my time. And then from there, I have not been able to get back into writing the way I would have wanted to, but I've been doing it for several years now. Story Origin publicly launched in April 2018. So it's been out there for almost exactly 4 years now. So it's quite exciting because I've been able to add all of these features over time. When I was just starting, really, I went and I talked to a few authors and said, okay, what tools are you using to do everything that you do? And I heard, okay, I use this tool for delivering my reader magnets. I use this other tool for creating universal book links. I use a different tool for finding reviewers. I use some combination of Facebook groups and Google Forms to do newsletter swaps or arrange cross promotions with other authors and building stuff on my own site. And then I also have beta copies and I send those out as Word documents, or, have my readers arguing with each other in the comments on my Google Docs. And I was like, okay, wow, this sounds like a lot. I want to build one thing that does it all for you. I think if I had told you that at the time I was going to build a one-stop shop that lets you do all of that, you would have said, Evan, I don't believe you. And that is the nicest way you would have said it. So it does a ton of stuff and it can be overwhelming. But today I want to talk to you about list building, because that is the place where I recommend authors start. Having a mailing list is so valuable. And it just allows you to do so much more, so that when you have review copies that you're trying to get reviews on, when you have promo codes for your audiobooks that you're trying to distribute, when you're looking for beta readers, all of that infrastructure that Story Origin helps you out with is multiplied by the fact that you've also been able to build your mailing list, and all of that stuff becomes much more effective too. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen again. Go here. And Troy, you seeing that? All right, very good. So let's jump right into it. Looking at the author marketing landscape today, there's sort of a few different things that are worth noting. If you look at bid prices on ads across Amazon or Facebook, those are generally rising over time as those markets become more saturated with more people trying to push ads at certain audiences. So as more authors become get into that, it becomes more expensive over time. The other thing is that social media is now pay to play. It used to be back in the day that you had a Facebook page, and when you posted, 100% of people who were online at that time, it would just show up in their news feed. Now everything is algorithmically driven based on engagement and all these other metrics. So if you'll be lucky if your posts to your Facebook page or Twitter or wherever you sort of build a social media following, you'll be lucky if that reaches somewhere between 1% to 3% of your audience. And if you actually want to reach 100% of your audience, which you probably can't do, but you would have to pay to actually boost your posts to your audience that is already theoretically following you in order to get your content. So it's very challenging. And the other thing is that rates of review just in general are always pretty low, and it's very difficult where you have this chicken and the egg problem where you need reviews in order to have sales, but you need sales in order to get reviews. So solving that chicken and egg problem can be very challenging. But we do have a solution, and that is email. This archaic thing at this point, in terms of technology, email is like the oldest technology that we've had around since we got started with computers. But it's so valuable because it allows you to own your relationship with your audience. It's not this thing where this one entity controls all of it and they choose how you're going to be in touch with people. You own that. So when I reach out to Troy, he gets my email, and nobody can really take that away from me. And just to go to why authors find it valuable, Danny here says, my email list allowed me to generate reviews and launch the book to #1 new release in Gaslight Fantasy for the first week of release. Caleb said, my mailing list is a major component of marketing of my book. Without it, I would be dead in the water. I think that it would be easy for me to have about 100 different quotes from authors about how valuable email marketing is. So I won't keep trying to drive that point home. I'm sure many of you have heard the same from many other author friends. So let's go ahead and get into what exactly it is and how to do it. A little bit of mailing list 101. So when you have a mailing list, you're going to want to get on board with a email service provider. Now, you could theoretically send emails out to just a group of people using your normal Gmail or Yahoo account or anything like that. But there are a few reasons you should not do that. First is using an email service provider allows you to comply with different data regulations like GDPR or CAN spam. Also, there are limits. Like if you want to send over 500 emails in a single day, you will get capped out on certain services like Gmail or Yahoo won't actually allow you to send a certain number of emails in a small time period. So it can actually be difficult if you wanted to do something like that. That's where an email service provider handles that for you. It also helps you avoid being categorized as spam, and they do some nice analytics around tracking open rates, click rates, unsubscribes, etc. I recommend MailerLite. It's a good one to get started with. Troy just became certified in it, so he can answer all of your questions about it, I am sure. I recommend MailerLite just because, there's a bunch of them. MailerLite, MailChimp, whatever. Get started. I don't care what email service provider you pick. Get started. The reason I recommend MailerLite is because a lot of authors love it, and they have a free tier up to 1,000 subscribers. So it's really easy to get started. You're not going to have to pay for it for a very long time until you get up there. And then at that point, by the time you're nearing 1,000 subscribers, you're probably going to start focusing on like culling your list and making sure that you have a really high open click rate. And so you can usually stay on that free tier for quite a while longer. All right, let's go to why someone would want to actually sign up to your mailing list. This is the first thing that you have to think about is, okay, I'm going to be sending newsletters out. People are signing up to get sort of marketing emails from you. Why would they want to do that? And the reason is that you want to show them that you're going to provide them value when they sign up to your mailing list. And how do you do that as an author? I recommend giving them a reader magnet. A reader magnet is a free story that you give to people when they sign up to your mailing list. What I recommend as a reader magnet for fiction authors, for nonfiction, it's a little different, but for fiction authors, I recommend using a 10 to 20,000 word short story prequel to your book or your series. Now, why do I make that really specific recommendation? First, a prequel hooks readers into wanting to read the follow-up book, right? You're essentially providing this reader magnet as your sort of your free trial. It's like when you go to the food court and you're at the mall and they give you those free samples. This reader magnet is your free sample into wanting them to buy the full book or series after that. The second thing is it provides an effective introduction to your universe. A side story or some side quest to your novel may not provide an effective introduction to your universe if it assumes that the reader already has knowledge of the events from book 1 or book 2 or something like that. That's why a prequel is really good. The other thing about that is sort of following on to that is that it entices readers who both have and have not read the follow-up to that prequel. A prequel is a great way to entice people to join your mailing list who haven't read book 1, but also those who have read book 1 and they really want to dive more deeply into your universe and explore the backstory of those characters. Having a prequel for them is a great way for them to do that. And so the other thing is, why 10 to 20,000 words? Well, you're going to be giving this away for free, and you're going to be wanting to use this as a hook into reading book 1. So a few points on that. If it's too long, it's going to decrease your read-through rate. You want it to be something relatively short so that you have the probability someone actually finishes the whole thing is higher. And just having a shorter word count means that they're going to finish it faster. On the inverse side, though, you don't want it to be too short, right? If it's 200 words, yes, they will finish it very fast, but they will also feel like they were being shortchanged, right? They signed up to your mailing list to get a story, not to get a 200 word blurb. And so having something that is of substantial value there is really important. Lastly, we are giving this away for free. So making sure that it is cheap to edit is quite valuable. You do want to make sure that with your reader magnet, even though you are giving it away for free, that it is still highly polished, because this is a trial for many readers. So you still want to get it edited, and just having it be on the shorter side makes that a little bit cheaper and faster. Going on to the how. So we know why people are going to sign up to our mailing list. How are they actually going to get that book file? How are they going to sign up to our mailing list? That's where a service like StoryOrigin comes into play. StoryOrigin, you can create a landing page for that reader magnet, put in a little blurb, description, etc. And that would give you a landing page like you see on the left side of your screen here. Then when a reader clicks get that story, they would be prompted to put in their name and email address, and that would take them over to the file download of that story. StoryOrigin, one thing I do want to note here is with your email service provider and StoryOrigin, how do those two sort of interact? When someone signs up to get your reader magnet on StoryOrigin, StoryOrigin will track the list of signups that of people that request that reader magnet and you can always download that list directly from StoryOrigin just as a CSV. But you can also integrate your email service providers with StoryOrigin. So StoryOrigin integrates with 9 different email service providers. I'm not going to list them all, but it's all the major ones you can sort of think of, MailChimp, MailerLite, ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, etc. Some of even the newer ones like SendFox, Author Email, etc. And you can integrate your StoryOrigin landing page with that email service provider so that when someone signs up to get your reader magnet and they put in their name and contact information, that information is sent directly to MailerLite, let's say in this example. And so you don't need to go and download anything from StoryOrigin or do that on a weekly basis or anything like that. It's a huge time saver, makes things really easy. So after their contact information gets added, they'll be taken to that file download page. StoryOrigin provides them lots of different ways to get the correct file on whatever their preferred reading device is, and provides instructions for different types of devices. And then StoryOrigin also handles the customer support. So if you have a reader that runs into an issue, they can email StoryOrigin directly, and they'll be provided with additional help to solve whatever issue they might be running into, which is really nice because you don't want to be managing tech support as an author or trying to figure out how these files get on all these different device types. So where do people find the link to that landing page that you've set up now? So one, as I mentioned earlier, if you write a prequel short story to your book, I would recommend putting that link at the back of book 1. You can also put it at the front of book 1. I mean, put it everywhere. So front or back matter of your published books is a great way to find people who want to join your mailing list. And those people are going to be some of your best subscribers, because if they're finding the link at the back of your book or a book that they've already purchased, it means that they really already like you as an author. And so getting them onto your mailing list is incredibly valuable, because those are the people, when you have a new release, you say, okay, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, whatever of the series is out, go check it out now. Those people are already ready and waiting to know about that kind of thing. Other places, you can link to your reader magnet from your author website or blog posts. You can even run ads on your landing pages, so you can direct your Facebook ads or whatever ads you have set up to your reader magnet landing page. This is a little bit more valuable when you're an earlier author just starting out and you don't have a huge backlist, because let's say you've only released book 1 of a series or something like this. If you are directing your ads towards just a purchasing page, they might purchase that first book, but if you don't have any other books out yet, it's going to be some time before you release another one. You might not ever see that reader pick up another one of your books just because they don't ever get a notice of when the next one's released, right? But building that email list, if you drive traffic to that mailing list, then a subscriber there, you can let them know when you've got book 2, book 3, book 4, etc. out. And so the lifetime value of that reader can be higher than if you're just directing traffic to just a purchase page. Lastly is email cross promotions. And I want to talk about that one a little bit more, because it's a method of promotion that's growing quickly, and there's a few reasons why. So one is it's free. If Troy and I want to set up a cross promotion where I promote his book in one of my newsletters, he promotes one of my books in one of his newsletters, we don't have to pay each other to do that. It's free. The second thing is it's really easy. All I have to do is drop a link to Troy's book in my newsletter, and he drops a link to my book in one of his newsletters. We don't need to figure out any complicated like ads dashboard, bidding strategies, targeting, anything like that. Those all take a lot of time to do, and to do it well requires a huge time investment. Lastly is it's targeted by genre, right? When I set up an email cross promotion with another author, I will set that cross promotion up with another author in the same genre. So I know that when they promote my book, the correct audience is getting it, right? I'm not promoting with authors of just any genre necessarily, right? And so in order to do my targeting and make sure that I'm going to be finding people and directing traffic to my page that might actually like my book, it's not that hard. I just, find other authors that are in my genre. Let's talk about the different types of cross promotions. So there's essentially two types of email cross promotions that authors run. There are newsletter swaps and group promos. A newsletter swap is kind of what I was mentioning before. This is where you and another author would agree to promote each other's books directly in your newsletter. So as you can see the example on the right side of your screen here, I am promoting Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I've put the book cover for that book directly in my email, and then I've embedded the link for that book into that image, and I'll sort of show you what how that would work. The second thing is group promos. So a group promo is where you and a group of authors agree to promote a single landing page showing all of your books together. So that'd be me, Troy, and 20 other authors. We all put our books onto a single landing page, and then we all drive our traffic to that single landing page. And so the image that I've put here in my little example newsletter is the group promo banner image. So this is the organizer creates a nice little image, gives a title to the group promo. For example, this one is Monster Mayhem. And so, presumably readers would understand that this is all about books that have monsters in them. And so when they click on that group promo banner image, it's going to take them to a landing page showing everyone's books. Let's see how that works really quick. So with a newsletter swap, like I was saying before, that book cover would have the link embedded in it. So when someone clicks on that book cover, it just takes them directly over to the landing page for that book. So it's a direct one-to-one cross promotion, that book being directly promoted in my newsletter. With a group promo, that is, again, you take that banner image, link that, embed the link in your newsletter in that image. And when someone clicks it, that'll take them to a landing page showing everyone's books. So you can see here, just 3 books are shown on that landing page, but a reader could continue to scroll down and see other books that are a part of that group promo. And so this is where sort of all of us authors that are a part of it are all promoting that landing page showing all of our books. Some common questions that I get about reader magnets in particular are, can I use a book in KU as a reader magnet? And the answer is yes, you can give away up to 10% according to Amazon's KDP knowledge base. The reason for this being that Amazon essentially already allows readers to read up to 10% of any book through their look inside feature. So anyone can go on to Amazon, click on a book, hit the look inside feature, and read the first 10% approximately. And Amazon's like, hey, we let people do this. So, if you want to give away 10% of your book, you can do that too. The other thing I usually get asked is, when it comes to cross promotions, can I join them even if I have 0 subscribers? The answer is absolutely. There are many authors who were in your shoes recently, and they might now have, a few hundred or a few thousand even subscribers on their mailing list. And they were in your shoes not more than a few months ago, having 0 people on their mailing list. So when an author applies to one of their group promotions, I was just talking to another author the other day. He's gotten up to somewhere around like 800 subscribers on his mailing list now. And now he's started to organize his own group promos. And so he had an author who had 0 people on his mailing list apply to one of his group promos. And he was ecstatic. He was like, I love it. I love that someone else who's just starting out applied to my group promo, because this was me like 2 or 3 months ago. Right. And so, yeah, they, essentially, the people who you see with the big mailing list, they had someone who gave them a hand up. And so now they're looking to give a hand up to someone else. Lastly is, what do I do when someone signs up to my mailing list? And the answer there is you want to send them a welcome email. So let's talk a little bit about welcome emails. Usually I recommend using a 3 email welcome sequence, and we'll dig into what exactly I sort of recommend around that. But the goals of the welcome sequence are to, one, ensure that they receive the download. StoryOrigin already gives them the download, but you might have people that are signing up to your mailing list through your website or through other channels. And so providing the download for people that are signing up outside of StoryOrigin is a great thing to do in your welcome sequence. The second thing is you can use your welcome sequence to figure out who's actually opening and clicking on your emails. And then you can remove people that aren't opening or clicking on any of the emails in your welcome sequence from your mailing list. Lastly is your welcome sequence is a great place to find your champions, people who are willing to become reviewers for you, become beta readers for you, people that might be willing to send out, tweets or share on social media when you've got a new release, etc. So these are sort of the main goals I see for welcome sequences. Let's talk about what tactically a welcome sequence would actually, actually before getting into sort of tactics, I do want to talk about framing a little bit. So for your newsletter and your welcome sequence in general, I like to think about your welcome sequence like you're bringing a friend to a party. So when you bring a friend to a party, do you just bring them and then you just like leave them at the snack table and be like, okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my other friends now, bye? No, you want to be like a gracious person. So you bring them, you introduce them to your other friends, you ask them questions to engage them in a conversation like, oh, hey, I met so-and-so through this, and this is how we connected. And then that allows them to have context of how the people in that group are related. And then you also share personal stories with them of, oh, this is kind of connected to, asking them questions about themselves as well, and building a rapport with someone. Making this actionable to your newsletter, there's a few different pieces I like to recommend. So one is, since we're like talking to a friend, write your newsletter as if you're addressing an individual and not a group. So in my newsletter, I will always say, hey, Troy, or hey, so-and-so, right? It's never, hey, gang, hey, y'all, hi, group. It's always addressed to that person individually. Second thing is, I like to share personal stories or pictures in my newsletter as well. And this is a really good job. This is a really good way of sort of portraying that you're just another human, because it's so difficult to appear to be just a human on the internet. This great technology that we've created that makes us all seem like robots when we're talking to each other does have its downsides. So yeah, I always like to include like a personal story or picture from something that might have happened that week or whatever in my life. Lastly, I recommend that you have a form as a way for readers to meet each other. And a really easy way to do this is to just have a Facebook group. And it can be it can create this sort of virtuous cycle of content, right? Where you might have discussions in your Facebook group, and then you can use content from those discussions in your newsletter to say, oh, here's some stuff that we were talking about in the Facebook group this week. And that drives interest in people joining the Facebook group. And then there's more discussions there. And then it sort of creates this virtuous cycle. And the great thing about having a secondary place that you can connect with your readers, like through a Facebook group, is just that provides a second way for them to see any posts that you might share about new releases or anything else. You do not have to do this piece. It does require like a little bit extra work in order to run a well-functioning Facebook group. And not everybody likes Facebook, right? Like you might like Instagram or Twitter or Pinterest or something else. So it's really sort of up to you on this one. Tactically, how do I recommend writing that welcome sequence? So again, I recommend a 3-email welcome sequence. The first email being thank you and freebie. So this one you would trigger either immediately after they sign up to your mailing list or shortly thereafter, like 1 hour after the reader has subscribed to your mailing list. The subject might be something like download your free copy of whatever your reader magnet title is. The content would be, hey, thanks for joining my mailing list, and have a link to your direct download page for that reader magnet. Now, here's where I want to mention there's two different features that are sort of related on StoryOrigin. First is you've got the reader magnet. The reader magnet landing page has them sign up to your mailing list and then directs them to a page where they see the download options available for that reader magnet. A direct download page is just the download options for that book. And you can integrate a direct download on StoryOrigin with your email service provider so that only people that are on your mailing list can download that direct download. So if someone signs up to your mailing list on StoryOrigin via reader magnet, they've got that landing page there, and then it'll take them to the download page. And then in your welcome sequence, what you could do is you could include the link to just the direct download page for anybody that is coming to your mailing list from outside of StoryOrigin that might not have already gotten the download. For additional content for that newsletter, I recommend sharing, again, a personal story, a picture, or a story from your Facebook group or forum. And the call to action for that email, that first email, I would recommend as either being to join your Facebook group or forum, or the call to action might just be to answer a simple question like, tell me a little bit about yourself. I would recommend it being related to whatever story that you might share in your welcome sequence. So if you talk about your pet dog in your first email, you might ask them if they have any dogs, and that it gives them a way to respond and for you to actually connect with them over email and start building a relationship with that person. Email 2. This is where you introduce yourself and your community. So you want to be building a relationship with this person, and you don't really know what things you might share in terms of what preferences you guys might share. But you do know that they signed up to your mailing list probably to get your reader magnet, and so they like whatever genre it is that you write. And so for the subject of this email, I would do something like my first love, and then there you would talk about your first love of that genre, how I joined the underworld, right? Or a genre is the best and here's why. And this is here to sort of show them how you relate to them as a reader and another lover of that genre. I recommend this one being triggered either 1 to 3 days after the reader has subscribed. I think having it a little later in that time frame, like maybe 3 days after they subscribed, is usually better, because then they might have had a chance to already start to read that reader magnet that they got from you, or they might have already finished it. And so you might also be able to engage people on whether or not they like the story or what they thought about it there too. For the content, though, like I was saying, good thing would be just a personal story related to your genre. And then again, having the link to that direct download page for the reader magnet. That way, even though they probably have already downloaded it and they've already gotten the link at least 1 or 2 different ways to download it, you don't have to explicitly say, here's the link to the direct download page, here, go download it if you haven't already. You can just leave it implicit, right? You can say, hope you've been enjoying your copy of XYZ, where XYZ is a link to the direct download page for the book. So if they haven't already downloaded it and they see that little link there and they go, oh, right, I should go download that. It provides them a little nudge to say, oh, don't forget that you've got this book downloaded, right? Because you don't want to be sitting on a person's to be read list, right? A lot of people, they might take a sample and say, oh, like, I want to check this author out, and they just never get to it on their to be read list. So having those little nudges is important, especially in your welcome sequence. For the call to action for this email, again, I would recommend, having them try to join your Facebook group or forum, or again, having a question that tries to engage them in a conversation where you can connect with them one-on-one. Probably that question would be related to whatever personal story you share related to your genre. So it might be something like, oh, how did you come to, find this genre or enjoy it? For the third email in your welcome sequence, I recommend this one being triggered either 2 to 7 days after the reader has subscribed. Again, I'd probably recommend like the later end of this time frame, just to give them more of the chance to have already read that reader magnet. The subject to it, this is where you are trying to find your champions. So those champions, again, would be people that would be willing to beta read for you or share posts on social media about any new releases that you have, or to become reviewers for you and join your review team. The third one is the one that I recommend as being your avenue of trying to find champions, people who want to join your review team. And this is great because it sort of puts building your review team on autopilot. Instead of trying to build your review team only ahead of, only when you have a new release coming out in a couple of weeks or something, and then scrambling to be like, oh, I need to find people who can get review copies of this book. Start to build your review team months ahead of whenever you have a new release. You might not even have a new release planned, but ask people if they want to join your review team. That way, when you do have a new release that's coming out in a few weeks, you already have people that you can give that book to. So what I recommend doing is you can create a review copy page for book 1 of that series on Story Origin and link to that review copy page in your welcome sequence. And so when people go through that sequence, they can actually get the first book for free, and they would request that from you. And then you, as the author, get to choose whether or not you want to accept them to get a review copy of that book. So there are a couple of parts to managing a review team. And Story Origin can help you out with this. So the first part to managing a review team is vetting a review copy request. So when someone requests a review copy from you, regardless of whether or not you're using Story Origin, here's what you want to get from them. Get their reviewer profile links. So if they say that they're going to leave a review on Amazon, ask them for their Amazon reviewer profile. So if I write, let's say, clean romance, and someone applies to get a review copy from me, and I look at their reviewer profile on Amazon and I say, oh, this person has only ever reviewed steamy romance, they might be thinking that they're going to be getting something that they're not, right? They're looking for a steamy romance novel. I write clean romance. So if I give this person a book and they don't find any steamy scenes in it, they're going to probably be like, oh, this book disappointed me. And you don't want your review team people to be disappointed, because these are people that have agreed to leave reviews. So you want to make sure that they're going to fit the sort of reader that you're looking for. Second thing is, you can also see whether or not they've left any reviews for books on those platforms recently, so that you know that they actually do write their reviews and post them up and all of that stuff. Lastly is you can check for history of completed reviews. Now, this part is something a little bit more specific to Story Origin. When you put a review copy up on Story Origin and someone requests a copy from you, you can see the number of review copies they've been approved for Story Origin and the number of review copies processes that they've actually completed. So if someone has requested and been approved for 10 review copies on Story Origin and they've completed 9 of them, well, if you approve them for for your review copy, then you can be relatively confident that they're actually going to complete it. This is not something that you could really do if you're just doing it like on your own through Google Forms and all that kind of thing. The second part of managing a review team is tracking and follow-up. So there are a few times when you want to email people on your review team. If you are doing pre-publication review copies, so first to mention, you can do review copies for pre or post-publication books. Even after your book has been published, you should still give it away for free if people say that they're going to leave a review on it, when you're still trying to get over that, 10, 15, 20 review mark threshold. But if your book is pre-publication, the first time that you would want to email them after you've given them that copy is on the day of publication. You should shoot them an email. Now, Story Origin handles this for you. When you go into Story Origin and hit the Mark as Published button on Story Origin, it will automatically send an email out to the people that you've approved for that review copy and say, hey, the book is published. Go leave your reviews on all the other review platforms now. The second time you want want to either email them is if they have not finished that review within 2 weeks of being able to do that review across Amazon or Goodreads or BookBub or wherever else, you'd want to shoot them an email reminder just to say, hey, like, don't forget you got this book. Please review it. So Story Origin also handles that part for you. So you don't even have to do any email follow-up. Story Origin just automatically handles that. Lastly is when they've actually completed their review. So when you see someone has completed their review, it's always a good time to shoot them an email, say, hey, thanks for getting it. If you really like their review, maybe send them the link to the review copy for book 2 in that series. And we'll see here how that comes into play with Story Origin in a minute as well. So on the reader's side, what does this look like? So again, you could do this with like Google Forms or something, but Story Origin has it all set up for you and looks professional, right? So when a reader comes to request that review copy, they would say what sites that they intend to leave a review of that book. So Amazon, Goodreads, BookBub, Kobo, Google Play, Apple, etc. Wherever they say that they're going to leave a review, then they would submit that request to you. After they've submitted that request, and if you have approved them, then they will get access to the review process page. And that is where they have their steps for reviewing the book. Step 1, they would download the book and read it. Step 2 is they would write the review on Story Origin. This is great because if you're doing pre-publication review copies, they can write their review on Story Origin as soon as they have read the book. So if you're giving out a pre-publication review copy that is, a month ahead of when the book is going to be published, they can write the review while the book is still fresh in their mind, rather than waiting till publication day and then being like, oh, I read that book a month ago. What did I think of it? Lastly, step 3 is they confirm their review submission. So saying that they left the review on Amazon or Goodreads or BookBub or wherever. And if it's one of those 3 sites that I just mentioned, then they would also leave the link to their review. So you can actually go and click on that link that is specific to going to their review. From the author's side, what does this look like? So when a reader requests a review copy from you, you can see, first off, other review copies that they have already been approved for from you through Story Origin. So if you're sending a review copy for book 2 to your readers and they've gotten book 1 through you through Story Origin from you, you can see, okay, did they actually complete book 1 and review it on Story Origin before you would approve them to download book 2? The second thing is you can look at their completion rates and their profile links. So like I was saying before, you would go to their Amazon or Goodreads or BookBub reviewer profiles to check out and see other books that they've reviewed there. And then you can see what the completion rates are on the number of copies that they've been approved for versus the number of copies that they've actually completed the process for. After you've approved that person, they move over to sort of a review team page where you've got a list of people that have been approved for your review copy. You can see their timeline of when you approved them, when they wrote their review, when they submitted their review links, the time that Story Origin sent a follow-up email to them if they haven't already left their review. And then you can also see the review that they left on Story Origin and check the links to their reviews on the other sites where they said they would list them. So that sort of wraps up what I think you should do with your welcome sequence and with your review copies, direct downloads, reader magnets. Now I want to turn my attention to regular email campaigns, because these are where we're going to be doing cross promotions like newsletter swaps and group promos. So for your regular email campaigns, I recommend sending those somewhere between once per week to once per month. I think that kind of twice a month is a good cadence for a lot of authors. It's relatively easy to upkeep. And if you miss a newsletter, then it's only been 4 weeks since the last time they heard from you, rather than if you only send a monthly newsletter and you miss one, then it's been 2 months since they've heard from you. Because when you send emails less frequently, people can just forget why they signed up to your mailing list or who you are. So staying top of mind by sending more frequently is really valuable. For content for your regular email campaigns, very similar to your welcome sequence, personal stories, general interests like movies you're watching, books you're reading. Hey, I'm in this juggling club or something like that. Community happenings. So these can be, discussions that you're having in your Facebook group. And lastly, deals. So these would be books from cross promotions. And those are where you would put, your newsletter swaps and your group promos. In terms of the number of cross promotions I recommend putting in a newsletter, I'd recommend generally, I think 2 to 4 newsletter swaps is good, and 1 to 3 group promos is good. You might even do 4 or 5 group promos. The main thing here is that you just don't want to overburden your newsletter with too many cross promotions, because when you go and you find authors to cross promote with through StoryOrigin, you can go and you see their past cross promotion history. You can see, okay, they had, 15 books that they were promoting in this newsletter, and they only sent them a few clicks each. And so I'm not going to accept a swap request with this author or request a swap with this author, because I don't think that they're going to do a good job of promoting my book. So when you think about this for your own newsletter, you want to make sure that you're sending a decent amount of traffic to these cross promotions, because other authors, when they're evaluating whether or not they want to do a swap with you or let you into their group promotion, they'll also be checking out your past cross promotion history and saying, okay, is this someone that, upholds their end of the bargain when it comes to cross promotion? So always be wary that you're not putting in too many. You can certainly push these numbers a little bit, especially maybe somewhere like sometimes between, like, if you have a new release, you might set up a few more newsletter swaps one week than another, just because you're trying to get your book out there as much as possible, things of that nature. I do really want to briefly touch on organizing group promos, because is a underutilized strategy. Organizing your own group promos is incredibly valuable, because when a group promo is set up, all of the books on that page are randomized every single time any author visits, or any time a reader visits that page. So every time a reader visits that page, the books are all scrambled. That gives everyone in the group promo sort of a fair chance to be at the very top of the page during the time frame of that group promotion. Now, if you're the group promo organizer, you can actually give books premium spots so that those particular books always show up at the top of the group promo. So everyone's books will still be moved every time and shuffled every time a reader visits it, but a certain subset, you can make sure that they always are staying at the top. And so being the group promo organizer gives you the ability to set your books to make sure that they always appear at the top. The second thing is, if you are just starting a mailing list and you've got 0 subscribers on that mailing list, lots of group promo organizers will be willing to accept you into their group promos. But if you're the group promo organizer, you will know with 100% certainty that you can put your own books into the group promo, right? So when you're just starting out, it's a great thing to do. Organizing a group promo is not too much work. It really comes down to 2 different things. You need to create a banner image, and you need to recruit participants. So for the banner image, what you would do is you would find an image, add the dates and the title of the group promo, and that's pretty much it. It's a really simple process. If you use BookBrush's custom creator, it won't take you more than a couple of minutes to make a really nice looking image. I recommend checking that one out. In terms of recruiting participants, there's essentially 2 places, right? So when you create a group promo on StoryOrigin, it'll be listed in the upcoming group promotions on StoryOrigin. And you'll find a lot of authors will apply to your group promotion just because they find it browsing on StoryOrigin, and they want to join. The second place that you can go is look for Facebook cross promotion groups. So if you look up, Facebook, newsletter swaps or promos for authors, you'll find a ton of groups, and a lot of them are specific to different genres. You'll also find a list when you create a group promo on StoryOrigin. StoryOrigin will give you a list of Facebook groups that are broken out by genre, and so you can post there as well. And that not only gives you a new way to find participants in your group promo, but also allows you to personally connect with other authors that might join your group promo and get to know them a little bit more closely. So that's it in terms of our presentation here. If you use this code IDWG 2022, you will get 30% off of your first year on the annual plan on Story Origin. And this code will expire in a couple of weeks. So you've got to use it sooner rather than later. But that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I will also let's see. You know what? I'll go back to where did my other oh. Sorry about that. I'll go over to my own dashboard and show you guys there. Just pull it up real quick. So if you guys have any questions about how anything mechanically works on Story Origin, we can just go and take a quick peek at that. But yeah, thank you guys all for staying for watching this. I really appreciate it. Any questions?